Welcome back at this second part of the BIG-IQ Partner Bootcamp training. This is the second and final part compressed in a video, aligning the first part, and on top of that, this part will focus on the automation that has been introduced in BIG-IQ to meet the requirements from our new consumers. And with the new consumers, you have to consider the DevOps engineers and the application owners that want to have full visibility and knowledge of the health and the status of their application. This second part will focus on application-centric management. As discussed earlier, we will explain all automation features and functionalities that have been added in BIG-IQ to make life easier if you are using BIG-IQ, whether you are using it as a networks operator or as a DevOps operator, or if you want to have more visibility and analytics from an application management perspective, or even deep diving into troubleshooting HTTP and TCP sessions. Also, this part, just like the earlier part 1, will be finished with hands-on lab exercises, and in these hands-on lab exercises you will play and learn BIG-IQ AS3 deployment of big IPs. Next to that, you will investigate the dashboard and all the features and functionalities and intelligence that can be found using the dashboard on the status of the applications on a per app basis. Once the lab is finished, we will do a small recap on everything that has been explained on BIG-IQ. The following slides will hopefully explain everything that is needed to know on application-centric management and per app control, with the use of the automation that we have introduced within the F5 product suite, and we are doing that with the F5 automation toolchain. In the F5 automation toolchain you will find means to onboard big IPs very easily, introduce, create and modify the applications, and to manage and monitor with the telemetry streaming automation that we have added. This will be explained in the following slides. The shift from infrastructure to an app-centric approach has increased the number of different user types, as we mentioned a couple of times already. That has also increased and changed the requirements that we have on a BIG-IQ. And with that we have also anticipated and added features and functionalities of BIG-IQ. For example, by anticipating and adding that role-based functionality and role-based workflows, because we are looking at new user types and they have different control demands. Automation is implemented and a rich set of APIs, and those APIs are using declarative technology, so that set is supported, the templates are supported, and if required they can even be integrated into the CI/CD pipeline that might be in use by the DevOps team, third-party devices communicating with BIG-IQ. The opposite of declarative APIs are imperative APIs, and the huge difference is that imperative APIs really require domain-specific F5, BIG-IP, BIG-IQ domain-specific knowledge to configure and to make sure that everything is running, where the declarative API is using a template created by F5, where the consumer of the template, the user of the template, does not have to have the domain-specific F5 knowledge. A huge benefit, allowing these new consumers, these new users, full functionality of BIG-IQ with self-service options and the individual dashboard views that will support them in their different roles and their needs in per app visibility and per app deployment and control. This is a screenshot from BIG-IQ where we are looking at the application section, and in this particular environment you are looking at a view, a dashboard that is a dashboard that is normally used by the application owner, the application architect, the DevOps people that are consuming BIG-IP services but are very interested in the status of the applications that are being provided. Role-based authorization is really a powerful tool that provides us and provides you with the different levels of permission for the various roles in the environment. Centralized management systems allow you to do both the provided built-in roles, but also you can create your own custom roles. Different personas, different dashboard experiences. On the right, like you saw earlier in the screenshot, applications, and these applications can be drilled down till the deepest detail, where on the left, in a same BIG-IQ environment, you can see the view from the people that are using and are building the elements that are being consumed by the app owners and the DevOps teams. So here you will see what the configurations are, how the traffic management is working, and where the templates are being created for the others to use. The F5 automation toolchain, really created to make life a lot easier. Simple and powerful declarative automation for the provisioning, for the deployment, visibility of BIG-IP devices and the services running on top of them. This automation toolchain makes it fast and easy to programmatically configure and roll out F5 BIG-IP devices, helping to solve common network and common security bottlenecks. So you can realize the vision and the benefits of infrastructure as code. The declarative part is just about telling the system what you want and let it figure out how to make that result happen. Declarative interfaces in the automation toolchain minimize the networking and the security and the F5 product knowledge, the domain-specific knowledge that is required so that you can quickly and effectively provision your BIG-IPs. clouddocs.f5.com is our repository website, and that is a website that contains all required information that you can imagine on the F5 automation toolchain and connectivity and interoperability with third-party solutions. Worldwide Field Enablement also has a separate one-day course that focuses on the F5 automation toolchain. In this course, we are looking at it from the perspective of BIG-IQ, but you can imagine that this is also directly configurable on BIG-IPs and that there are different items that need to be considered. Let's look at the elements in the toolchain one by one, and let's start with Declarative Onboarding, or also known as DO. Declarative Onboarding is an F5 offering that provides a simple, consistent way for our users, our customers, to automate the onboarding of BIG-IPs using the declarative REST API. DO simplifies the BIG-IP deployments, and it provides a point of integration with third-party orchestration systems where it focuses on the setup of the BIG-IP. So it automates layer 1 to layer 3 onboarding for BIG-IPs, making the BIG-IP available on the network and ready to accept any layer 4 till 7 application services and their configurations. Declarative onboarding simplifies and eliminates the errors in the F5 application deployments, as well as it enables the reusable JSON document-based configurations. Those were the templates, remember, so that also people that have not the domain-specific knowledge can also manage their application services. Declarative onboarding is an iControl-LX extension, and it is delivered as a TMOS independent RPM file. And when you install Declarative Onboarding as an extension on BIG-IP, it enables you to do that onboarding via posting JSON declarations to the Declarative Onboarding API endpoint. Yes, everything related to the setup of the BIG-IP, onboarding, the license, the self-IPs, the VLANs, network time protocol, IP routes, it can all be created and configured automatically with declarative onboarding. Next to declarative onboarding, there is AS3, Application Services 3. And Application Services 3, like declarative onboarding, uses TMOS independent RPM packages, and it's based on the API extension using Node.js. When AS3 is used through BIG-IQ, it generates the per app dashboards and the analytics in BIG-IQ that allow you to track health, security, performance of your applications. BIG-IQ in this case provides the end-to-end analytics and the alerts. AS3 allows faster time to market through customizable F5 authored AS3 app service templates. And these templates again offer the declarative way of provisioning app services, minimizing the need for big IP domain expertise and also minimizing the risk of deployment errors. Third, in the F5 automation toolchain is telemetry streaming. Also, telemetry streaming is an RPM package using Node.js for the API extension. In this particular case, we are talking about sharing information on the data and the application to third-party devices, external devices. And in this screenshot, there is an example integration with Splunk. But then again, what I told you earlier, clouddocs.f5.com contains all information also on telemetry streaming and on integrations with other parties than Splunk, for example, and not limited. Think of Kafka, Elasticsearch, and last but not least, let's not forget F5's own beacon, telemetry streaming from BIG-IQ can communicate with Beacon, providing, or not providing, but enabling Beacon to have the umbrella view of the application situation and the application service level aspects. This is already a preview of the analytics dashboard, and in the analytics dashboard on a per app view there is a lot that you can see. During the labs you will investigate yourself, and then it all becomes very self-explainable. But an application, in this example, site 18.example.com, has a certain health. Preferably you see that the health is strong and in the color green, but it can also be other colors like this status moderate, where there is also a response time and a number of connections and HTTP transactions over a certain period that you can configure. Security, whether it is enabled or disabled, and in that particular case what type of mode it is. More on the right you also see the alerts and the most recent messages, where in the middle you will see the elements that the application is using, from the flow of the client all the way up till the application service or virtual server, and the pool with the nodes that are involved. Further view is on the analytics and the configuration part, where you see that we have now selected the analytics, and this provides you with a drill down on a timeline and a certain object that is being collected. As the previous slide already showed, there are definitely very nice per app dashboard views possible, all in depth. And for the next coming slides, we're going to unfold all those possibilities by explaining what the options are for BIG-IQ when we are talking about monitoring, getting the visibility, and using analytics for better troubleshooting, using the dashboard for visibility and in-depth analytics and all the monitoring options with logging and reports. So let's first have a general overview on the monitoring and the visibility. If we are talking about operations management, there is that dashboard possibility where we mainly focus on health and performance of a diversity of elements. And those elements are, of course, the big IPs and the modules that are running on top of the big IPs, like LTM all the way up till DNS. Reports on the health and the security of the elements and the services are available and can also be custom made. Several events will keep you informed on whatever is happening. Last but not least, there are all kinds of audit trails and audit log files that will help you again to troubleshoot and find out historical occurrences because they have been recorded. 3 topics that we want to emphasize in this course are from the analytics part, HTTP analytics and TCP analytics, and the introduced functionality of Brownfield application support in the dashboard. Let's start with the HTTP analytics because that does enable users to view samples of their HTTP transactions. As said earlier, this does need AVR on big IPs. TCP analytics added in version 7.1 based on HTTP analytics, but into the TCP IP suite and a little bit deeper, so you can even do better and more in-depth troubleshooting if required. And the last feature we want to emphasize is the support of Brownfield applications, where in one of our earlier versions, 5.4, F5 decided to require applications to be deployed from templates, and more we had that idea of using templates so you don't have to have that domain specific knowledge and can use standardization and automation, although in the early days automation was very often addressed by scripting. It did the job. But today we are using more and more AS3 templates in the deployment. So with regard to visibility and management for the HTTP transaction, it is very easy to enable the HTTP request and response logging by enabling it in the analytics profile in the dashboard for that specific application. And the administrator then controls the level of data that is going to be captured. And you can either capture the HTTP request or the HTTP response, or if you really want to do the deep dive troubleshooting, you can even capture both of them on a level of all data, the HTTP bodies, the headers, and the specific URLs. Once a sample is made, the data from that captured HTTP traffic response and or request becomes visible in the BIG-IQ application dashboard. And then it looks like what this screenshot is showing. So whether the traffic capturing is there, here are the sample moments where things have been recorded with log information and the filters that the administrator or user in this particular case with the enable rights has specified. And here are the traffic capturing filters that can be selected. More screenshots showing more and more visibility and drill down options up to the latest bit in the transaction of the HTTP request or response. The hands-on lab exercise that you're going to do later on also includes an HTTP request log part. Next to HTTP, it is also possible to do the TCP analytics, and the sampling of that TCP transaction is possible from version 7.1. Prior to version 7.1, all analytics that were provided are HTTP-centric. You will see the TCP analytics both in the monitoring tab and in the application dashboard. And besides the per app view with the global TCP analytics, it is also possible to view TCP statistics via the BIG-IQ monitoring function, as you see here in this sample. Monitoring provides more detailed TCP information and also allows you to do that for multiple views. TCP stats are also available under that monitoring lab, again from version 7.1. Finally, in this group of 3 topics that we put in the spotlight, Brownfield analytics. Brownfield analytics is the support of applications that have been created on big IPs before they were managed by BIG-IQ. If you want to see those applications in the dashboard, that was not possible before version 7.1. Now in version 7.1 we provide read-only app dashboard visibility for the existing applications. So those are the applications that have not been deployed with the AS3 templates via version. To configure, there are a couple of steps that you need to fulfill. First, select using the existing configuration instead of a template. Then select the big IPs that your app is running on, and don't forget to enable AVR on those specific big IPs. Select the virtual server and then select the application object type HTTP Analytics. Important guidelines with regards to these brownfield analytics are that customers should test and monitor their environments as they enable these analytics on brownfield applications, because proper DCD sizing must be done before. Mentioned a lot of times already, but AVR is a requirement and must be provisioned on the big IPs. Analytics profiles must be pushed out to the big IPs. Your big IPs must be running TMOS version 13.1.x.x or higher. And customers should be careful when they monitor their CPU and their memory consumption on the big IPs before, during and after the rollout of the feature. So if you implement it, do it in a guided way so that if things are suddenly changing, you can react. And our recommendation is to enable this in small chunks. So monitor the resource consumption and do not enable wide scale everything in one shot. This concludes the theoretical part of the BIG-IQ training. We are now going to show you the overview of the exercises 3 and 4. So we are going to do some hands-on lab exercises, and in these exercises you will import and publish BIG-IQ AS3 templates on a big IP. You will apply the templates and you will set up role-based access profiles. You will also use application analytics, find out how the HTTP capture works and how you can export certain findings to an external report. Like the lab exercise that was part of the first part of this BIG-IQ course, this lab exercise also has an estimated completion of 60 minutes, and for now I can only say have fun and enjoy yourself during the lab. Your trainer is available if you have questions or run into other issues that you might want to discuss. The course has almost finished. We do hope that you enjoyed yourself and that you liked this course, and that you will join us for more courses that are part of our curriculum. Before checking out that curriculum, 5 more minutes, just a recap on why BIG-IQ is needed, what it exactly is, and how you can use it. Let's first look at the traditional IT infrastructure, where all building blocks of data centers are manually configured. That traditional way meant that when a new application was introduced, computer resources, networks, and the layer 4, layer 7 application services manually needed to be administered. Often these tasks are executed by different people with different responsibilities. Manual orchestration of such a project becomes therefore inflexible and also time-consuming. And that has negative effect on business when the business really needs quick launches of new applications. Time to market is crucial. Applications are our crown jewels. Adaptive application services from F5 will assure that your applications can grow and shrink when needed. From a security perspective, they are able to defend themselves and heal themselves when needed. BIG-IQ takeaways. It is a central management system with capabilities to automate and to orchestrate the big IPs, the devices, the elements, And more that's being done through REST APIs to assure further automation. BIG-IQ also has a strong use case in delivering the centralized per-app visibility, the dashboard that allows our new consumers to get the most out of BIG-IQ. Support, it is big enough to scale large big IP deployments when needed globally, but if so, make sure that you are running regional BIG-IQ management environments. And if you start doing your scaling, make sure to have verified the F5 BIG-IQ documentation and the tools that support you there. So particularly the most recent release, version 7.1, has brought improving functionality and ease of adoption. Benefits for simplified management, visibility and management of legacy app servers. It standardizes app services and devices using templates and policies at scale. Work smarter and more efficiently through the F5 automation toolchain. Creates a one-stop app management solution with app lifecycle management. Ensure visibility and manageability of every F5 device, the service and the policy. Security control and the benefits that you see within that security control with centrally manage the encrypted traffic and the threats with the latest versions of BIG-IQ and of course SSL orchestrator support. Overall security management and adaptability for bad actors and automated attacks. It mitigates risks associated with encrypted traffic with SSL orchestrator at scale. Ensure consistent security services and policies assigned to shared security responsibility module. Protection from a variety of threats including distributed denial of service, bot, the always present OWASP top 10 threats and other common threat factors. And lastly, benefits that drive productivity and agility. Interop support for the latest versions of the declarative provisioned automation toolchain. Yes, AS3 extensions and declarative onboarding. Well, think of the time saved and the reduction of errors with a declarative provisioning and deployment module. The empowerment of teams to self-serve with guardrails while they are ensuring consistency and repeatability and management. Streamline app delivery and security policy deployment with role-based access for the different roles. Simplify the creation and the provisioning and the deployment of best-in-class big IP app delivery and security services. Thank you very much for your attention. My name is Michael Tornent, F5 Networks Worldwide Field Enablement.